This video features the best picks and best bans for each map and game mode aside of ranked. If you guys are kinda lost in ranked, I really recommend watching to the end of this video so you guys will have full intel on how to easily push to masters. Alright, so to start off this video, the first map we're gonna be talking about is gonna be Gem Grab Double Swoosh. So for Double Swoosh, some of the good early first picks you wanna go are gonna be good mids, so like Jean, Gus, and Jesse. They are gonna be really solid because you wanna be scouting those bushes and making sure you can maintain control. They're probably gonna be one of the best mids that you guys can run, so if you guys have the first pick, I recommend picking them. Now as far as late picks or last picks, you can also run tanks because they can also benefit from the bushes if the mids are like not really scouting them too well. You can run brawlers like Darrow, Kenji, Buster because they can really counter a lot of those good first picks pretty well. Now in case you guys don't really like some of the good early picks or late picks, there are some other brawlers you can run too, like maybe Tara, Chester, Pearl, Clancy. A lot of those brawlers can run through the bushes, sneak around inside the map, and really burst down the enemies from a close range. Double Swoosh is all about maintaining control of those bushes because whoever has control of the enemy's bushes will probably end up winning the match. Alright guys, the next map we're going to be talking about is going to be Hard Rock Mine. Now for Hard Rock Mine, same thing, you want to be going a lot of good mids first, so there's like Jesse, Belle, and Gus. Of course, some other really good lanes that you could use are going to be like Surge and Rico. They can easily maintain lane quite well, especially Rico because of his bounce shots, right? Then of course we got the late picks. You want to go tanks or aggros as well, so like Buster, Darrow, Kenji are going to work pretty well as late picks too. They can go and sneak around inside the enemy team's bushes and just be a total nuisance and just cause a lot of pressure onto the enemies. Some other good picks you can run are going to be some other good mids that you might see like Jean or even 8-Bit. They can be pretty solid as well, but they're not going to be good as the other first picks that I listed. And of course there's also brawlers like Amber who can break bushes, hold lane, or even brawlers like Ruffs who also has the bounce shots kind of like Rico. Same thing with Hard Rock Mine. If you have an aggro on your team, have them go into the enemy team's bushes and just cause a ton of pressure. It'll really relieve a lot of pressure off of your team and make winning the match a lot easier. Alright guys, the next map we're going to be talking about is going to be Undermine. Now for Undermine, same old, but with this map in mid, it's really important you're running a lot of long range brawlers like Piper, Belle, and Gus. They're going to be very good and very versatile because, you know, they either have an escape tool or they can mark up the enemy, or even Gus with his shield is going to be good too. And then as far as late picks, you know, you want to be going with those tanks or bush camping brawlers, especially when you're running like late picks on the lanes. So good picks are going to be like Buster, Chester, Darrow because they can easily burst down those enemies there. And of course some other picks as well you can run like Jesse, Squeak, Tara, Clancy. Another map kind of like Double Swoosh where you want to be maintaining control of those lanes because if you lose control, the enemies can easily just pressure out the person in mid and just, yeah, totally steamroll them. So with Undermine, make sure that your mid is like a really good player. That's probably the best player on your team needs to be the mid, and then you have your other players supporting you from the lanes, maintaining control of those bushes. And yeah, because Undermine can be pretty spawn trappy. Alright, moving into the last Gem Grab map, we're going to be talking about Last Stop. Now Last Stop, I mean, this map is completely open as far as the mid goes, and there's a lot of bushes, so good mids, as you guys can see, is going to be like Piper, Gus, Belle, Byron, all those good long range brawlers. With the first pick, especially inside of Gem Grab, you want to be going a lot of good long-range brawlers that are very versatile. And with this meta and with the current map pool rotation inside of Ranked, a lot of these Gem Grab maps are pretty opened up in the mid. Now, late picks, you know, it's the same routine as I've been saying. You want to be going brawlers like Clancy, Darrow, Chester, brawlers that can really take control of those bushes, hold down lane, and just cause a ton of pressure. And of course, some other good picks as well. You can run like Crow because he can be actually pretty good scouting bushes. If you guys watch the Road Finals, I really love the play with Semantic. Shout out to him when he played Tara. I mean, that was a really clutch play by him. So Tara as well is going to be a very good lane brawler to run inside a Last Stop. But okay, moving on from Gem Grab, let's go and talk about Heist. And the first Heist map is going to be Bridge Too Far. Now obviously in this meta with so many aggro Heist brawlers, you're going to need brawlers like Melody, Chuck, Colette, Colt. They can apply a ton of pressure and be very good first pick brawlers. You want to be playing brawlers that can do a lot of burst damage because a lot of these times, especially in lower rank gameplay, is all about just base racing the enemy team. Especially with brawlers like Colt, how much damage he can do per second, and even Colette with the hypercharge, I mean, she is nasty. Good late picks are going to be brawlers that can kind of counter those aggro brawlers, so maybe like a Bonnie or like a Carl or even a Darrow. They can be decent on defense, especially like Darrow when they're running brawlers like Chuck, like Darrow can just burst them down. And then of course some other good first picks or just mid picks in general like Jesse, Brock, Belle, Piper, even Eve, or I didn't even mention Angelo, but Angelo's a very good first pick too. Especially brawlers like Eve and Angelo, they can really benefit by walking walking on the water and just causing a ton of pressure, since the enemies would just have to focus on just a different enemy walking on water, and that's just another way that those two brawlers can apply pressure. Now with Bridge Too Far, it's just very important that whichever lane you're on, you want to be trying to win that lane and just cause as much pressure as you can. Bridge Too Far also can be very spawn trappy, so it's important that you're just maintaining control, winning your lane, and just trying to just keep pressure onto the enemy team. Alright guys, the next heist map we're going to be talking about is going to be Hot Potato. Now Hot Potato with that massive bush in the middle, like brawlers like Clancy and even Nita can be pretty good first picks. Playing a brawler like Nita as a first pick might be like, what? But it really eliminates enemies from going like tanks and assassins. And speaking of like late picks, if there's like Nita's band, or like, you know, you have Nita on your team, then you can run aggros like Kenji, Daryl, Frank, BB, because, you know, you're not going to have Nita to counter you. And like I said, with having that massive bush down the mid, then you can easily sneak up inside there as a tank or an assassin. Or maybe some other decent picks you can go is going to be like Crow, Rico. Rico's really good. I love playing Rico in this map because you can bounce those shots off the mid walls. Even brawlers like Colt and Colette, obviously they're going to be very, very good as well because they're just good heist brawlers, right? Now Hot Potato, this map is really tricky. Like if you're facing tanks, you want to try and break open those walls, break open the grass, and really expose them. However, if you're running like more longer range brawlers, then you want to just try and hit the heist safe from a distance and just try to stay alive as much as possible. Alright guys, the next heist map we're going to be talking about is going to be Kaboom Canyon. Now this map is pretty tricky. Like you're going to want to run obviously long range brawlers like Piper and then Colette and even Chuck as well. Mostly because I mean mid is pretty open. You do have the bushes, the couple walls in the middle, and of course the water too. And this is where I'm going to actually skip to other picks, and this is why you're going to want to also play like Eve and Angelo if you guys want to. They can easily just walk over the water. They don't even have to run around it, and that can easily help them just gain pressure and just get to mid faster. But anyway, moving back into the last picks, you know, last picks are going to be brawlers that can counter a lot of those long range brawlers. So like Daryl, he can roll, or even Bonnie with her super, and of course Carl as well with Flying Hook and his super too. I mean, it's just going to be very good to run those type of brawlers to really try and counter those longer range squishy brawlers. So yeah, running like Daryl, Carl, I would really recommend as later picks though. And then yeah, going back to the other picks, obviously you can run Brock or even Penny. Penny, you can put a mortar behind the unbreakable walls and it's very frustrating to deal with. Or even running Brock, like I said, you can use Rocket Fuel, break open the mid wall on your side so your team can get to mid and gain control much faster. Alright guys, the next map we're going to be talking about is going to be Safe Zone. Now Safe Zone is very tricky because you do have a lot of unbreakable walls here on this map, but I mean a lot of good early picks. You know, you can run Chuck down the mid. I mean, you can just set up those posts and be very irritating. Or even Colette as well, she will be able to hit her super from across the water, so she won't really have to get too close to the safe. But obviously running brawlers like Melody, Belle, and Piper, they have the long range, but Melody, if you get on that safe, I mean, it's pretty much GG's, right? And then of course some good late picks, you can run Daryl, he can roll over the water. A thrower like Rom could be very good too. Even Penny, getting that super, getting that mortar, hiding behind the unbreakable wall, and making it frustrating for the enemy team to deal with. And then finally some other good picks, you can run Angelo, he will get run down, so it's kind of iffy. You can run 8-Bit, he was played in the Road Finals, it could be not bad. I mean, there's a lot of good brawlers you can run on Safe Zone. You know, there's a lot of good heist brawlers in the meta in general, so it's really about picking your poison and knowing what kind of brawlers kind of cater to the comp that you're trying to run. But okay, moving into Hot Zone, the first Hot Zone map we're going to be talking about is going to be Dueling Beetles. Now Dueling Beetles, there are the unbreakable walls, so it's going to be good to run throwers like Larry, Laurie, Barley, and Juju as first picks. This could be very risky, however, but it's kind of safe because they are pretty broken and good for singular Hot Zone maps like Dueling Beetles. And there's some good late picks, you can run counters to those kind of brawlers like Search, who can jump over the walls, or even Kenji, a good assassin brawler that can easily just dash up to the enemies and just get them down. And the reason why Sprout is going to be a late pick and not an early pick is he can be very, very good if the enemies are not running wall breakers, so he can place down those walls and just totally cut off the enemies. And then of course some other picks you could run as well. Mo will be decent. You have Gray with TP, you know, you could run like Jackie Gray, which like is an old meta, but it's coming back actually. And then of course you have brawlers like Amber, who can break bushes. Gale with his hypercharge, he's going to be nasty as well. So I mean, there's a lot of good brawlers you can also run in Hot Zone. But as far as the early picks and late picks, you gotta really stick with those sets because those are really good strong early picks and strong late picks. Moving into the next Hot Zone map, we're going to be talking about Open Business. Open Business, another singular Hot Zone map, so you're going to be wanting to run throwers here. There are breakable walls, so throwers could be a little iffy. However, brawlers like Larry, Laurie, and Juju, you can't go wrong with running them because they are very, very strong, right? Of course, brawlers as well, like Surge, you would run a late pick on Dueling Beetles, but he can actually be a good early pick on Open Business. Mostly because there's not really a lot of brawlers that can counter Surge unless, you know, they're running like a bunch of like wall breaking brawlers as late picks. And speaking of those kind of brawlers, Frank is going to be one of those brawlers that can really counter Surge quite well. As long as Frank can get those supers and just destroy the map, then Surge is going to really struggle. And of course, some other good late picks, you want to run some brawlers that are good for area control like Sandy, Amber, and Lou. Lou with this super, he can cover that entire hot zone, make it very frustrating for the enemies to try and get time without getting frozen up. Amber, she can place her oil on the hot zone, have the enemies risk running onto it, they'll get burned up. Or even Sandy having so much control with that hypercharge and rude stance, it's going to cause the enemies to escape, not want to gain pressure, and it's going to help you guys get some easy wins. And of course, some of the other good first picks you can run Mo, Gale, Barley, just to name a few. Even Clancy can be somewhat decent. Now, the main reason why I put Griff, a lot of people might be like, why Griff? But Griff can be good if you want to break open the map. Kind of like what I said earlier, if you need a counter like throwers or even a brawler like Surge. He can run his piggy bank gadget, break open the walls, and just make it very annoying for any type of thrower to have cover. But yeah, open business, you either want to run throwers, or if you're very smart, you want to draft some late picks that can break open walls and expose those throwers, because yeah, they're going to be very dominant on this map. Alright guys, the next hot zone map we're going to be talking about is going to be parallel plays. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this map because it's very one-sided. A lot of people, especially amateur players, don't understand how to play this map. But some good early picks, you can't go wrong with running throwers like Barley, Larry, Laurie, and Juju. Especially with the hot zone having to do those 3 unbreakable walls, like you can just run around it and make it very difficult for the enemies to get you down. However, another good early pick is going to be like RT. RT can be very good. He can split and hit those enemies that are hiding behind those unbreakable walls and just make it very irritating for them to try and stay alive around them. Of course, some good late picks too. You can run aggros like Carl, Daryl, Kenji, even Hank. I know people are going to kind of troll me for the Hank pick, but if you guys have actually seen good Hank players that know what they're doing on this map, hey, they can be very frustrating because he can charge up that massive bubble, hit the enemies through the unbreakable walls, and yeah, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Hank is going to be very good as well just to counter throwers or anybody that's going to try and gather time on the hot zone. And of course, some other good picks, you know, these are kind of risky, like running Stu. If you don't have low ping or you're not that good with Stu, maybe trying to stay away from him. Even brawlers like Lou, he could be good, but if you're not a good Lou player because he is more higher skill cap, then you might struggle. Even Miko, like a lot of people think they can play Miko, but you know, they're not really the greatest, but Miko can be very good. He can hop over those unbreakable walls and get down those throwers and just cause a ton of pressure. Alright guys, moving into the last hot zone map, we're going to be talking about Ring of Fire. Now, I know a lot of people, especially my good friends, they hate playing Ring of Fire, but personally, I don't want to tell them this, but I actually like playing on this map a little bit. Now, some good early picks, like the mid is very open, so you want to be going a lot of good mid long range brawlers like Byron, Gus, Piper, Penny, Jesse, Belle. All of the good early picks are all long range versatile brawlers. And you guys are going to see later on in the draft, or even the other picks, you guys are going to see that a lot of the brawlers also that may not be first picks or even late picks, but they're also long range brawlers too. And even as we go into the other picks, like those brawlers also have long range. So no matter if you're running early picks, late picks, or other picks, hey, long range brawlers will work on this map. Now, as far as late picks goes, to try and counter those squishy long range brawlers, you can run brawlers like Surge or even Carl, Tara, brawlers that can benefit from running in the bushes. If you can sneak around into the lanes and get inside those bushes, those longer range squishy brawlers are not going to be able to take you down in time. They're going to have to try and pinch you out, but even then, they're going to be wasting time, not gaining time on the hot zone. And then, of course, some other good picks. You can run Amber, who can break bushes. You can run Lou, who can throw down his super on top of the hot zone. It is a singular hot zone map as well. And then, of course, 8-bit is pretty underrated, but you can actually put down your turret behind a wall. It could get broken, but, you know, having that damage booster, you can't go wrong with that. Alright, guys, moving into Knockout now. The first map we're going to be talking about is going to be Belle's Rock. Now, Knockout is very tricky, but the thing about Belle's Rock is you want to be running throwers here. Brawlers like Larry, Laurie are going to be very good as a first pick because you do have the unbreakable wall on your side. If not, you could run a brawler like Rico, who could benefit from the walls all over the map too. But then some good brawlers that can counter those good first picks. You can see Daryl, Bonnie, Gray, Carl, a lot of good aggros to counter those squishies. Carl can use his gadget and then super onto the enemies to get maybe a team wipe even. Or even Bonnie getting her super and jumping onto the enemies, and even combining that with Gray's super, like Gray can TP or even use Walking Cane to pull the enemies, break the walls. I mean, there's a lot of good late picks to counter throwers here. And then yeah, some other good first picks. You can run Squeaky, is good for area control. Brock can break open walls. Penny with her mortar is going to be good. You can run Kit because Kit can pair very well with like Kit Daryl, Kit, I don't know, whoever. Like Kit and with any tank basically is going to be good, right? But yeah, Knockout's very tricky. The only thing I will say, and this will apply to all the maps, in Knockout, you need to make sure that you are getting that 3v2 advantage. Do not be going down first, because if it's a 2v3, like if the enemies have 3 people, then yeah, you're really cooked there. But okay, moving into the next Knockout map is going to be Flaring Phoenix. Now, Flaring Phoenix with all those bushes, you can't go wrong with running a brawler like Jean. He can easily scout the bushes, he's going to be a very good first pick, and with that pull, oh man, he can be truly money. And of course with the unbreakable walls, throwers are going to be very strong, so run Larry and Juju as first picks. Now some good late picks, you could run counters to those throwers, so like Daryl, Kenji, Buster. Buster is very underrated. You can use that slow-mo replay gadget to pull people in if you can get close or people overextend, and you can get some easy kills that way. Personally for me, I do love running Gray as the last pick because kind of like with Belle's Rock, you can use your gadget to pull people in, or you can use your TP to stay alive, run away, or get a kill. And then finally some other good picks you can run, like Barley can be another good thrower, Penny with her mortar can be solid, place it behind the unbreakable wall and you can scout bushes that way, or even Max can be a very good brawler to just kind of pressure, get into the enemy team's faces and speed up her team if she needs to. Flaring Phoenix is all about maintaining control of those bushes and waiting until the end game and just maintaining control of that mid. But okay, the next knockout map we're going to be talking about is going to be Goldarm Gulch. Now at Goldarm Gulch, there are the bushes on the lanes, so if you want, you could run like a Rico so you can scout those bushes. Other than that, you're going to want to run longer range brawlers like Byron, Gus, and Piper, or even RT. You want to be, yes, maintaining control of those sides of the bushes, but it's going to be more of a west versus east type of battle here. You want to try and stack one side of the map so that you and your team can stick together, just in case there's somebody just trying to go AWOL, MIA, try to sneak up on top of you, and then you can just 3v1 that enemy. But anyway, some good late picks that can counter a lot of those good like longer range brawlers, Kenji, Buster, Carl, it's kind of the same pattern as you guys can see with Knockout here. But I really do love the Kenji and Buster as late picks because you can really take advantage of those bushes if the enemies are not running brawlers that can really scout the lanes too well. But then of course some of the other picks I am going to mention, brawlers that can scout those lanes like Max or even Jean too. Max and Jean can easily just chip away, scout those bushes, but even Jean with that pull, like I said before, you can just yank people in. If you have brawlers like Buster, Kenji, or even RT, you won't have too much of a problem bursting down the enemy if Jean can connect with a pull. So yeah, I would recommend, there aren't really any unbreakable walls here, so throwers can be good, but it is more risky. So just run the longer range brawlers in case the map does get blown up, then you'll be looking pretty decent going into the late game. And then finally, the last knockout map we're going to be talking about is going to be Out in the Open. Now as you can imagine, a brawler like Angelo is going to thrive here in Out in the Open. He's going to be a good first pick because not only can he deal a lot of damage and he's a good marksman, but he can walk over that water and you can maintain control pretty easily on that left lane. Especially if he's like being pressured, he can just run away pretty easily just so he can heal up and stay alive. Now not only Angelo, but good long range brawlers like Belle, Piper, Byron, they're all going to be good as well because mid in general is just completely opened up, right? Now some good late picks that can take advantage of those bushes and try and surprise some of the enemies that are hiding there. You can run brawlers like Leon or even Daryl or even Buster too. Those brawlers can really take advantage of the bushes, and if the enemies get too extended, then you can just roll onto them, yank them in, whatever it may be. And especially if you want to be running more tanks or aggros, which is pretty risky as late picks, but you want to be lasting until the late game. You don't want to be feeding the enemy supers because you obviously don't have as long of a range as those first picks, right? So wait until the late game, wait for the smoke to close in those longer range brawlers so you are finally within range of them. And then of course some other good first picks, you have like Brock who can break open the walls so you can get to mid faster. Even brawlers like Pearl was played pretty well in Out in the Open inside the World Final, so I really like the Pearl pick here. And then of course with RT, now he can walk over water when he's split. I mean, you can't go wrong with running a brawler like RT who can burst down aggros as late picks, but also fend for himself and hold his ground against the first pick longer range brawlers with this, normal main attack. But okay, moving on from Knockout, let's go and talk about Bounty, and the first Bounty map is going to be Canal Grande. Now Canal Grande is a very tricky map, especially with all the bushes, all the unbreakable walls, all the water, but obviously some good brawlers are going to be throwers, right? So Larry, Juju, they're going to really thrive here. And then of course you have all the water, so you're going to want to run brawlers like Angelo and Juju too. And then of course you got to take account for the bushes, so you run brawlers like RT and even Jean. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but all those brawlers kind of take care of a certain characteristic about the map, right? You have good first picks that take care of the bushes, the water, and even the unbreakable walls. Now some good late picks that you can run to counter those types of brawlers, I would recommend aggro. So same thing as you've been seeing this whole time inside a Knockout, like Kenji, Taro, and Buster. Especially if the enemies are running more squishy brawlers and they can't can do a lot of good burst damage inside of those bushes, then running brawlers like Buster where you can yank them in, or Daryl you can roll across the water even to extend your roll, then you can really benefit by trying to just make a sneak attack onto them. And then finally, some other good picks you can run to, like Eve is going to be solid. She can walk over water just like Angelo and Juju, but also brawlers like Surge and Nita, because they can be great counters to those types of tanks that you might see as late picks. Surge can jump over the water, Nita will have her bear to tank for herself and also scout bushes. And even like Clancy and Tara, they can do a lot of good burst damage and maintain control of mid pretty easily. Now moving into the next bounty map, we're going to be talking about Hideout. Now for Hideout, there are no unbreakable walls, so you could run longer range brawlers that can break open the walls, kind of like Piper. Piper is a very good first pick. She has the long range, she got the super to escape or even to break open the map to her team's advantage. So if you do have Piper, you could run other good early picks such as Byron, Gus, Penny that can really benefit from that long range. Now some good late picks, you want to run assassins or just good aggros like Leon or even Carl or even Daryl too. Now some late picks that might confuse some people are going to be like Sprout, Tick, and Mr. P, right? Well, Mr. P can be good to really just irritate those long range brawlers because he does have the Porter, he does have the scouting that can tank for him. And then you could run Sprout and Tick if the enemies are not running any wall breakers, because they can really benefit, especially as throwers, to have control and have, you know, cover with those walls. And then just some good general picks, you could run Gray, RT, Mandy, you know, all those brawlers that have long range or have multi projectiles, because the map, if it does get opened up, you do want to have at least some brawlers that have decent range. But the meta here in Hideout, I wouldn't recommend running throwers too much unless it's a late pick. You want to be running longer range brawlers in case the map does get opened up, just so you have that range advantage. Moving into the next bounty map, we're going to be talking about Shooting Star. Now Shooting Star, I really love this map, but the unbreakable walls in mid are so annoying. Now some good early picks, you can run Angelo. He can benefit from walking on the water inside of mid. He can be a good mid brawler here. Of course with Juju, she can just camp behind that wall and walk over the water. I mean, she's pretty much set there. But other than that, you want to run some longer range first picks like Piper, Jean, Gus, and Byron. They're all going to be very solid too. Now as far as the late picks like Mr. P, Tick, throwers in general, or even Bonnie can be really solid too. Bonnie with her super can jump far away, land on top of those sharpshooters, and get them down. Mr. P can actually be not bad too if there's like no aggro as a first pick on the other team. Mr. P will get steamrolled by brawlers like Daryl and Kenji, so that's the only reason why I would watch out for him. But the reason why Mr. P is good is he can throw his briefcases over those unbreakable walls and hit any thrower or brawler that's trying to camp behind it. And then finally, some other good general picks like Sprout can be pretty disgusting here, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Penny can benefit from getting her mortar, placing it behind the unbreakable walls or just walls in general. And then Max can be a good support brawler. She can really just run to the enemy's faces, especially if they're running brawlers like Piper. And then of course she has her super that can speed up her whole team and just go completely aggro inside a bounty. Now the last bounty map we're gonna be talking about, I know a lot of people hate this map and I personally don't like it too much, but it's Snake Prairie. Now the thing about Snake Prairie is there's so much bushes and you want to maintain control of it, right? So good early picks, if they're not banned, you know, Jean, Tara, Bo especially, they have good scouting capabilities and you want to be having them as first picks if they're not banned already. But even if not, like Buzz also can be good for scouting. Clancy and Griff are going to be very good early picks as well. They can do a ton of burst damage from close up if they end up running like tanks or assassins inside of those bushes. Now speaking of those kind of tanks and assassins, good late picks, you know, you can have like an RT or a Doug, Rosa, or Buster. Now you do want to be running those brawlers if the enemies are not running brawlers like Clancy and Griff that can easily burst you down, right? Now I know Doug is very interesting, but a match that I really remember specifically from the World Finals was Totem beating Rival in the, was it semifinals, quarterfinals, whatever it was, and they were playing Doug inside of Snake Prairie and it was very mind-boggling. But I mean, if you see why, like he's a good support, he can deal the damage, he's got his super, so he can be pretty annoying here as a last pick. And then finally, some other picks you could run. You can run Janet, her star power, she can scout all those bushes for you. You can run Sandy because with root sands, I mean, you can cover a huge part of the map and just gain a lot of pressure that way. And I know a lot of people are probably questioning the Piper pick, right? But with Piper, if you can get your super, you can easily break open the map and escape as well against those aggro brawlers. Granted, it is very risky, and unless you're a very good skilled Piper, then I would not recommend running Piper and just run an easy brawler like Shelly. Alright, finally moving into the last game mode, we're going to be talking about Brawl Ball, and the first Brawl Ball map is going to be Pinball Dreams. Now the thing about Pinball Dreams is there's so much walls, even though they're not unbreakable, and there's a lot of bushes as well, and it makes it very irritating. Now Rico, you want to be using him even though he could get countered by enemies that can break open the walls. I mean, him bouncing his shots is very, very good here. And then of course, having a brawler like Larry Laurie, you can't go wrong with running a thrower because all those walls obviously, right? And then Surge is very disgusting. He can counter a lot of good aggros. It'll prevent enemies from picking tanks or assassins as late picks, and he can jump over the walls with his super. Now some good late picks, if the enemies are not running like a lot of those good early picks, or even if they are, like a lot of these brawlers can counter them, like Frank to break open walls, Daryl to roll onto the enemies, Buster can pull people in. It's pretty good. I mean, for late picks, especially inside of Brawl Ball, like, you want to be running a lot of tanks and assassins. The reason why you don't want to run tanks and assassins as first picks is because people can easily counter pick them, and there's a lot of good anti-tank brawlers in this meta. So as you guys can see, as we get later into all these Brawl Ball maps, you're going to see a lot of tanks are going to be good late picks, as you know, I just explained why, and that's why, you know, they're going to be late picks and not first picks. But anyway, back on topic, some other good picks you can run in general, like Tara. Griff can break open walls, he can be good too. Clancy, like I said, he's going to do a lot of damage against those close range brawlers. And Juju, you know, you can run another thrower if the enemies are not running wall breakers. Now the next map we're going to be talking about is going to be Sneaky Fields. Now here's an exception, okay? You know, you can run tanks here on Sneaky Fields because, you know, you do have all those bushes. And this is why you're going to see brawlers like Daryl, Tara, Clancy, brawlers that can really benefit from hiding inside the bushes. I know they're not really tanks, but brawlers in general that can just benefit from the bushes are going to thrive here in Sneaky Fields. Now obviously, if you see those kind of brawlers being played first pick on Sneaky Fields, then you want to be running brawlers that can break open those bushes, like a Frank, for example, or even running a Sandy with root sands, like he can use that star power to scout the bushes and prevent the enemies from healing up. Nita can be pretty good as well. If you see the enemies are running first pick tanks inside of those bushes, you can use Nita, and Nita's going to be a great counter to a lot of those tanks inside the meta. And then just some other decent brawlers, you know, you could run Gale. Gale's going to be good with his Twister gadget, his super, his hypercharge. You can run Otis, he can be very good with his super and now his hypercharge. He can mute the enemies, deal a lot of damage, and you know, he's a pretty good underrated brawler right now. And another one I'll just talk about a little bit is going to be Amber. Amber can be used, she has a Dancing Flames gadget, even though it's been fixed, but Dancing Flames is still going to be good. She can use her super to burn down all the bushes, and Amber in general is fairly easy to play. But okay, the next map we're going to be talking about is going to be Triple Dribble. Now good early picks for Triple Dribble, you can run like Daryl, you can run Juju, Surge as well, just brawlers because there's a lot of walls, but it's also kind of open. It's a very weird map, I'm not going to lie to you guys. So just very strong meta brawlers, just pick them, they're going to be safe early picks here. And there's some good late picks. Mortis can actually be pretty underrated here, even though I wouldn't recommend it to everybody because everybody has had that terrible Mortis random, and yeah, I wouldn't really recommend putting him if you're not good with him. But you know, you can run brawlers like Otis, Tara, Frank, Stu. If you have low ping, then he can be not bad. And then some other picks, you know, you can run Chester, Gale, Nita. I mean, a lot of brawlers, or even throwers too, like Dinah and Barley can really thrive as well. But the thing about like Chester, Clancy, Nita, Gale, as you notice, they're all like strong anti-tank brawlers. If you notice that the enemies are running like tanks first pick, like I said, like Daryl, Kenji, right, then you want to be picking brawlers that can counter them pretty well, like a Nita or a Gale. And then finally, to send it all home, our last map of the video is going to be Center Stage. Now Center Stage, with those lanes and there's a lot of bushes, you want to be running good first picks that are good lane brawlers. So brawlers that are going to thrive here are going to be like Amber, Clancy, Surge, Rico, Tara. They're going to be very good on the lanes here. Or even not really Surge that much, but the thing about Surge is that he's going to be good to counter a lot of the other good picks that you might see. Some of the other tanks that you might see are going to be like Buster, Frank, Kenji, which are going to be more late picks, but if the enemies are kind of stupid and they pick them first, then you want to run Surge to kind of counter those brawlers, right? But yeah, you want to run like Kenji, Frank, Buster if the enemies are running squishy brawlers that can't really scout the bushes too well, and you can easily steamroll them. And then just some other general first picks, like Squeaky is going to be good lane with his gadget as well. He can maintain control. And of course, some other good picks like Squeaky is going to be good with his residue gadget. Chester can be good to deal the good burst damage, and Gale and Nita, they're going to be good anti-tank brawlers, so they're going to be safe picks no matter what inside a Center Stage. Well, anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this video right here.